As you may know, it's my mission to interview 100 of the fastest growing and most interesting MSPs on the planet. What you may not know is I am distilling all of that knowledge into one battle-tested book. If you'd like early access to that book, make sure to click the link below. How do I know if I'm not charging enough?
If you are always trying to hire a tech every time you get a client, if you're not paying your bills on time, if you're always struggling with money and that's always on your mind, if you do not have extra money in your business checking account at the end of the month, those are some good signs.
Hey guys, Damian Stevens, host of MSP Mindset, founder and CEO of Servosity. Today I continue my mission to interview 100 of the fastest growing and most interesting MSPs on the planet. Today in my discussion with Will Nobles, he talks about how it took 8 years to get to 1.2 million in revenue, which made him the average of all MSPs. What made him exceptional is how he went from $1 to $18 million by unlocking this change in mindset. The bigger story, though, is he managed to go from working all the time to working 5 to 6 hours a week in that business, which unlocked the opportunity to create more businesses, and most importantly, spend that quality time with his wife and daughters. If you want to learn how to do that in your business, don't miss out on my conversation with Will today. So Will, tell me about the kind of humble beginnings from going from a small town farmer to building Vector Choice and where it is now.
Yeah, it's funny. So, where I'm at today, like if my father was still alive, he would never imagine where I'm at today. So I grew up in a small little town called New Bern, North Carolina. Grew up between farm town and beach. So when I was in high school and college, I would go to the beach after school, but I was a baseball player, was a sports guy and everything. So really, I grew up very blue collar. My dad had an 8th grade education. My mom did graduate from high school, but that was about it. They were married very, very young. Got brothers and sisters, but and grew up. I still own the house that I grew up in. The house was built in 1884, I believe, and I still own it today. And going from there to a small little town, and what little side note here, I grew up in the hometown of Pepsi, so the birthplace of Pepsi, and so lived there, left there, went to college initially in Greenville, North Carolina. So only moved about 45 minutes away, and then I took the big jump in 2002 and moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 2002.
Okay, so we got to get something straight. You were born a Pepsi guy, and then you moved to the headquarters of Coca-Cola.
The home of Coca-Cola, yes. So, and really, I like Dr. Pepper. I forgot who owns Dr. Pepper, but I like Dr. Pepper. I don't like either one of those. So,
got to be known for asking the hard-hitting questions.
Exactly.
I was getting hundreds of backup emails per day, and one little oversight cost me everything. Now, I trusted if I got a success email, I could restore. And when I went to restore, it was completely useless. Instead of blaming my vendor, though, I realized it was my process. So I spent the last 2 decades obsessing over making bulletproof backups. That's why I created Servosity. We solve this by eliminating backup uncertainty with rigorous testing done for you daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And we don't just alert you and send you more things to do. We proactively fix issues before they become disasters. If you'd like access to my entire process, book a session with one of our expert backup engineers. We'll walk you through all of it, and afterwards we'll send you the entire process for free. No commitment necessary. Book your session today while a slot is still available. How long's it been since you started Vector Choice? And tell me about the kind of size and scale currently.
Yeah, so I started it solely in 2008. It was right after the mortgages crashed in 2007. I was actually a vice president of technology at a mortgage company. We had about 900 employees in 3 different locations, and we shut our doors Friday the 13th. So never forget it. Friday the 13th, and we shut our doors. I saw a lot of people lose their job, and I knew I was going to eventually lose mine, but I had to shut down all the technology, all the leasing and everything for technology wise and get all that got settled before I left. And I said, never again. I'm going to do my own thing. And so I started out doing consulting work in '07, the latter part of '07, and incorporated in '08 and grew it from there. We've been very blessed, over the years of, good mentors, good coaching, to me, and we've grown organically, which is very important for a company to grow. But we've also done M&A as well throughout the time, and we're 18 million today, and continue growing.
And about how many employees?
84, 85, 86 employees. Depends on the day. I always have to check with my COO to tell me how many employees I have.
Yeah. So, as you know, most MSPs, we know we've never made it that far. So what do you attribute to breaking through a lot of the things that hold us back and to that level of growth?
Yeah. So I would, again, the average MSP in the United States is about 1.4 million. And I know all this because I do a lot of coaching to MSPs, and we can get to that later. But 1.4 million, very few break the $1 million mark and everything. And I never thought I would break the $1 million mark as a company. It was very hard to get to $1 million. And then you get to that valley of death from 3 to 5 million. That is, you're sort of putting your big boy pants on. You're developing process procedures. The people that were with you at $1 million are not the right people in the right seats a lot of times. And then when you get to 5 million, 10 million, then it gets a little bit easier. Believe me, it's not easy, but it gets easier. I think the biggest difference is a few things I always tell people that I coach: get out of your own damn way. And you've got to get out of your because I'm an engineer. I've got 2 degrees in engineering by heart, but you have to. Once you say I'm a owner or a CEO of a company, you immediately become a salesperson. And a lot of tech people that start technology companies or MSPs, they push back on being that sales and marketing person, where I didn't. I embraced it. I accepted it. Believe me, it was not easy at all. But I accepted it, and I said, hey, I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to take my tech hat off, put it to the side. I can hire people smarter than me in the tech. I have to grow the company. And at the time, I was the salesperson, the marketing person, the account manager. I was responsible for growth and plus running the business. Again, you can hire tech a lot easier than trying to hire someone for your vision of growth. And so I putting that aside and accepting that I was a salesperson as much as I hated it, and really embrace sales and marketing was the biggest thing that I think made the biggest difference. Getting out of my comfort zone. Doing things like podcasts and really just able just to talk to people nonstop all day, every day, it seems like, doing that and being comfortable doing that, being comfortable telling stories throughout the process, makes it a lot easier to grow a company. And I say a lot easier. It's still not easy, but it makes it easier.
Yeah. So did you just come out of the gate when you launched that way, or was there a moment or a group or somebody that helped you realize that?
So from '08 to 2016, I got to 1.2 million. In 2016, I was 1.2 million. So it was easy. I would say easy. It was easier because everybody at that time was really understanding what managed services, IT managed services was. People were letting go because of the crash of the mortgage industry crash. People were outsourcing their technology more than ever. So it was a little bit easier for me to grow because I didn't have the overhead. I didn't get a big hit of losing clients. I actually came on the upswing. And so it was easier for me to do that. But I did that with my technology brain and technology experience. But I quickly realized I'm not going to continue doing that to take it to the next level. And so in 2016, I joined as a member a company called Technology Marketing Toolkit out of Nashville, Tennessee. Some of you guys might have heard Robin Robbins. And great. She is a bulldog. She is no nonsense. So if you don't want to be challenged, she's not the right coach for you or the right mentor for you. But I went to the event, the first time I ever went to the event, and I called my team. I said, hey, I think this redhead's got something going on that we should use. And everybody, or like, my accounting person at the time said, "Will, we're broke. We can't afford another bill." And I said, "I don't know if we can afford not to." And that was the mentality I took into that. And I'm a risk taker. I'll take more risks than a lot of people are comfortable taking. But even that was one of many risks that I've taken along the journey. And I took that risk, and it really, really helped me. The next step was, okay, it helped me get marketing and sales down. But the next step, really what helped was I met another mentor on speaking and getting on TV and presenting and stuff like that. And that is something that IT people are not comfortable with at all, right? Yeah. I'm sure a lot of these calls that you do, probably the IT owners or business owners are not comfortable just talking and everything. And that was the biggest thing is, look into the camera, using your hands. You'll see me using my hands. And it's just second nature now, but I don't mean to, but it's just habit. And teaching, and he taught me a lot of that. So really, those two mentors really got me in the right place in my business. But I will take you way back years ago in high school when my first mentor that I really look up to still today and still in contact with today, he actually married me and my wife. He was a high school teacher, but I was in the FFA, Future Farmers of America. You don't see me being a farmer today, but I love the country. I love running heavy equipment still, but he was my first mentor to keep me out of trouble in high school and get me in the right path of leadership. So I did a lot of the different contests that the Future Farmers of America or FFA had. And so that really got me. And one of the biggest things that he broke me, and I'm still not broke of it, is that he would take a can with pennies. And every time I said or so or whatever, he would drop, or filler words, he would drop a penny in the can. Now, that was high school. No one's perfect on it, but that helped me also learn how to speak a little bit better than I did. So really, I've got three mentors, I would say, that I can pinpoint my success and growth of the company are those three.
What was harder when you committed to any of them? Let's imagine Robin Robbins for a moment, maybe one people can relate to a little more. Was it the committing to writing that check that you didn't have? Was it committing to make the change that you were scared to make or might have been?
The money, like I said, I'm a risk taker. So the money, I always can figure it out. If something happens, I will figure it out. I'll figure out how to get out of a hole. I've been in plenty of holes in my career. And so I'll figure out how to get out of that. So risking the money was not the problem. I think the unknown was the biggest concern because I didn't know anything about marketing and sales. I had a 5-page brochure, a 5-page website, a brochure, and a business card. Mm-hmm. And that was my extent of marketing. Other than that, nothing, right? And so learning, it's like drinking from a fire hose, learning all that information and you're not going to go from where I'm at today to where I was at $1 million overnight. It takes time. It takes a lot of processes. It takes a lot of willpower. And a lot of people say, and I'll get on coaching calls with people, MSP owners, and I don't want to work after 5. You don't need to be an owner then. You need to be an employee of somewhere. Or they rather work on the tech and not work on the growth of their business. And then I sort of look at them sometimes and say, if that's what you want, you'd probably be better to be a tech for a company and not have the stress of being an owner. Mm-hmm. It's when that comfort level to say, hey, I'm going to take that extra hour and I'm going to scrub lists. I'm going to take that extra hour and I'm going to post on social media. I'm going to take that extra hour and I'm going to create video content. I'm going to take that a few hours a week and I'm going to networking groups and canvassing and stuff like that. Things that IT people are scared to death of. And believe me, I was too. I'm terrified. I didn't know, like, to stand up at a chamber event and give a 60-second spill on who I am and what I did. I did everything everybody else did. Hi, my name is Will Nobles. I'm Vector Choice, and we're an IT managed cybersecurity company. No one cares, right? That's right. And it's all about standing up, telling a story, getting their attention, getting them the reason to say, ask a question or come to you after the event and say, hey, I like what you said. Can we talk? That's what you're trying to do at the networking event. So it's again, hands down, getting out of your comfort zone.
Can you give me an example? You talked about that. I know I can relate. Being scared to death to be at the chamber. What am I going to do? I don't know network. I don't talk to these people. So what do you recommend for that pitch instead of the old way?
If I'm in front of a bunch of attorneys, okay, if I know I'm in an event, chamber event, and there's just happen to be a lot of attorneys there that I want to get their attention, I'll say, hey, my name is Will Nobles, and I help attorneys become more billable. And stop. Mm-hmm. Pause for a second, because what does that do? It gets their attention because now I've set a target market, right? I said something very specific to people that now they're attorneys. Now I've got their attention. I've paused. And what's the most important thing for an attorney? How much time they can bill, right? And so you say that, then you can go in and you're probably wondering how I do that. And I do that by XYZ, right? Same thing if you were in front of a medical practices or doctors. We help doctors see more patients. How do you do that, right? That's the first thing you think, right? When I say that, it's the first thing you think. So if you can do little things like that to get people's attention, besides the same old boring thing of, hey, my name is Will Nobles from Vector Choice and we're a managed IT, whatever, right? No one cares. But if you can get their attention, that's the biggest thing. And so you should have a 15-second spiel, a 30 seconds, a 60 seconds, a 5 minutes, a 30 minutes, and an hour, to be able to tell your story. If so, you come over and shake my hand. Hey, Will, nice to meet you. Hey, how are you doing? So what do you do? And the first thing they're going to do, they're going to go into, well, I'm an insurance agent or I'm an attorney and I help, I do legal work for medium and small businesses. Oh, okay, great. What do you do? Oh, I help attorneys become more billable. I'm going to fire because he's an attorney or that person's an attorney. I'm going to fire that because now when I say that, he immediately, it's like when you ask someone, how are you doing? Yep. Do you really mean, how are you doing? Or is that just part of kosher of shaking someone's hand? Hey, how's things going? Right. Mm-hmm. But that's the same thing. People are zoned out. There's so much information flowing. They're zoned out. But if you break that information flow and get them to think, now they're paying attention. And so that's how you would do it at a networking event or meeting for someone for the first time. So
you're telling your story and it sounds like about 8 years to get to 1.2 million. And then if I'm doing my math right, about 8 or 9 more to get to 18. So like a lot of growth, non-linear. Looking back, what do you see as those breakthroughs?
Marketing. Putting proper marketing in place, understanding how to do marketing. If it's from, a lot of people immediately go to pay-per-click. Pay-per-click, I didn't start doing until we're about 7 million. It's a very expensive game to get in. And we have 10 locations and we spend about $5,000 per location per month. It's a lot of money to spend just on people clicking on my website, but it does drive traffic. Why I say that should be one of the last things you do because that's a more expensive game. Mm-hmm. There's things you can do from one, and we talked about networking, right? But you can do canvassing, get a little bag, and I got a little bag here. It just happened. I was just talking to someone, little bag here, and put in your business card, maybe your testimonial, a little testimonial book, a brochure about your company, and a call to action. Free network assessment, free cybersecurity assessment, 2 free hours of work, whatever that is, and do canvassing. So that's an inexpensive way of doing it. Networking, canvassing, cold calling. As much as people hate cold calling, but if you hate it, hire someone to do it, right? And hire someone that's good. And if you hire someone, you got to monitor and listen to their calls. But we did a lot of direct mail, and we still today do a lot of direct mail. We do 450 letters a week in direct mail, and we have 3 callers that call on those letters that we send. And so marketing can go, it's all about, you got to fill that top of the funnel. And then when you get the prospect in the door, what is the additional marketing you got to continue doing? So we do like what we call the shock and awe box, that we can send them a little gift at beginning before we ever meet with them in person. We have what's called the online shock and awe. So it's a video of me thanking them for the meeting with my salesperson. And then they've got little brochures they can look at. It's doing a handwritten thank you letter, thank you note after the meeting, sending that. Again, that's all marketing and it's all process of sales, but it gets you in the right direction. Besides, and all the way when you got someone in the door, the bottom of the funnel piece of it is, besides using a quoting tool to produce a quote and share a quote on the screen, walk them through a journey. What does the journey look like with us? How, with the issues that you shared, how do we fix those issues? And paint them that picture of their issues that they have, and do color. I use Audit for IT. We do the color coding on the PowerPoint. And then I show them two solutions. Hey, here's a solution where you really need to be based on your requirements, your compliance requirements, state or federal level. But I know you have a budget, and based on what we talked about, so here's another package that you could at least start with, and then we can work up to this package. And so we go through that process with them. But it's all about telling a story and painting a picture of why we're the best company to choose over someone else.
I want to go back to that kind of moment around 1.2 million. I'm sure it wasn't overnight, but obviously that's a nice, interesting point. How long did it take you to let go of turning wrenches and focus on sales and marketing?
That's one of hard steps when you're around that 1, 2 to 3 million to really start letting go. Some people let go too fast, too soon, because they want the Cadillac. They want to sit in the background at 2 million. Hey, I'm at 2 million. I got a team that runs it and I'm not really involved. And that's great. I still look at that as a lifestyle business because it's paying you extra money. You do whatever you want to. My vision was very clear. I wanted to be at 50 million by the time I'm 50. I just turned 46, and so we'll see, right? You will not. I will not get there organic growth. It's just hands down, it's just impossible to do. So I will have to do M&A to get there, but that's fine. A lot of people look at M&A as cheating. I look at it as cheating if you're using PE firms. If you're using your own money, it's not cheating. No offense to anybody who uses PE firms. When we were 1.2, when I started doing marketing, I saw a little dip, and I actually got a graph that shows how we've done, and it dipped about $100,000 in the first year of growth, and then you see the trigger hit, and it just started going up, and then it skyrocketed. A lot of the skyrocket did come from M&A when I started doing M&A, but I already proven the process, organic growth marketing and growth first before I try to buy a company. A lot of people want to buy themselves out of a mess, and you can't do that. Or you buy yourself from 1 million to 3 million. You can't do that. You've got to have an engine that can sustain without buying companies. A buyer is going to look at that. Are you sustaining? Are you growing your company by means of marketing and sales? Even if you've bought other companies, that's fine. But how did you get there? And so we balance that out both ways. We look at numbers, our account management numbers. We look at that from how much are they growing our existing client base. Outside sales, how much are they growing, and then M&A growth. So we divide all three of those up separately.
Interesting. So looking back, what are some of the other, besides that, at that 1.2 million, now I've got to go from the kind of the best tech or whatever to being the sales and marketing person, get out of my comfort zone, go to the chamber, start, networking, sending out letters. What are some other breakthroughs you've had?
Yeah, I mean, I was doing networking for day. That's one thing I did was day one, I was doing networking. So that's how I got up to $1 million was networking referrals, right? But that does dry up and run out, and you only have so much time in a day to actually pull that off. I always used to say, and was joking, I was with my CISO, my chief security officer, probably about 2 hours ago. And I was talking about to someone that I used to be the smartest person in the company. And now I'm nowhere close to that. I hire for that. And he laughs, of course, because they give me a hard time because, I'm not in the day-to-day tech anymore. What I did is I wrote down everything I did on a day and a weekly basis. And I put a star beside the things I hated doing. And one of the things I knew I hated doing around that 1 to 1.5 million is accounting. I used to for me to log in this, I'm not scared of anything, but for me to log into QuickBooks, I used to get terrified. Like I would break out in a sweat. I would panic. I feel like I was having a panic attack. And it was like, I'm doing this to bill for the money I made. So why am I scared to do it? It was a mental thing. Hands down, I don't know why it was a mental thing. And because I think I was so uncomfortable and didn't know my numbers. That's why I was so scared of it. I think thinking back now is the reason why. So I hired an accounting person first. The next hire was an admin. And this is me being honest and truthful. I'm not on a pedestal. I hate grammar and I hate spelling, right? And I am not good at follow-up. So I hire where I'm weak at, and I hire someone that does that for me. Now, it happens to be my wife. I cheated a little bit. I do pay her. But we tried to retire her last year, 2 years ago, and it just didn't work out. I was like, can you just give me 5 more years? I mean, she's 10 years younger than me. I was like, can you give me 5 more years and then you can retire? It's just that trust, having a good admin. It doesn't have to be your wife or your spouse or whatever, but having a good admin that can learn how to read your mind. It's not going to happen overnight, but where she can respond to emails as me, just like I would say. She knows what's a junk email and she moves that over. She knows what I need to know about right now and what can wait until tomorrow. So she prioritized my calendar, my email, my travel, my flights, my hotels, and that takes all the stress off of me. I know I got to get on a flight this afternoon to Orlando, and I know I fly Delta, but other than that, I really right now I don't know what time I fly, besides it's on my calendar. Okay. When I get there, I don't know what the hotel is because she's booked it, but it's on my calendar, right? And so those are the things that and the whole point I'm sharing that is get the things out that is, I wouldn't say underneath you, but where your expertise can be used in different places. And the things that you don't like doing, again, put that star beside it, hire for that. Then a couple months later, once you can afford to hire someone else, put a star beside everything that you're doing, hire for that. And ultimately, you hire yourself out of a job. And so literally my job today is my executive team reports numbers to me. I look at numbers, I critique things, I make recommendations, and I do M&A. That's all I do for the company. The day-to-day, project, I know how many projects because my executive team shares those numbers with me on the executive call every week. I know what our CSAT scores are. I know how much our MR is or NOR for the week. But I don't know details past that. And I don't, as a CEO running a high productive company with doing multiple other things, I don't need to know those things. And that's where it's really hard to let go. But again, hiring the right people in the right seats.
Why do you think it's so hard for us to let go?
I think there's a trait in us IT guys or IT people, I'll say, that it's one. I think let's use me. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm just going to use me. 1, I'm an IT person. 2, I'm a man. 3, I'm stubborn. And and probably everybody listening, yep, that's me. And I think that's the hardest thing for people. And I think that's why everybody doesn't succeed in business, because they are not willing to let go of the things that they should. They probably know it, or maybe they're in denial. And, but it has to be me. I have to be looking at this or it won't get done. And believe me, I had the same mentality. I had to do this or it would not be done the way I wanted it done. And with the reality, I had to step back and say, it might not be the way I would want it done, but is it getting done good enough and where the clients are happy and we're making money? then it's good enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't have to be you. Now, believe me, I still stick my finger into things. If my team ever listens to this, they're going to know. They're like, yeah, I still put, if a number is off, I'm going to stick my nose in it and I'm going to deep dive in what that problem is with that executive or the team member to figure it out, because it's on me. It's my baby, and I need to figure those things out, or help at least, and see what's going wrong. But you have to trust. You have to, trust your team. You have to coach your team. You have to mentor your team for you to be successful. And it is very, very hard to do, to step away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk about a role that I feel like I struggled with, and I feel like as an MSP I did, and after that I did, and I feel like most of us do, is that EA, right? I feel like sometimes we hire an accountant or we hire more techs or whatever it is. But why do you think it is we why did you wait so long to hire, to get with your wife, but, that person helping you as an EA?
I think because when you're first starting, you're dealing with, your email is more flooded with support, technical things that they couldn't answer anyway.
Yep.
Once you get, support going to the support email and it goes through your ticketing system and it's not coming in valid business emails are coming to your inbox or trash, spam, then that's when it's more apt to bring that person on. I would say if I had to do it over again, I would probably hire that person mid 500, 800,000 revenue. And I know that's still small, but I would hire that person because we spend so much of our time doing things that is waste of our times. To me sending an invoice or calling on a collection of the invoice is a waste of my time. Now, do I want that money? Yes. As a CEO, I do. But for me to do the task of doing it is a waste of my time. So if you hire a executive assistant, admin, whatever you want to call it, position, at first, when you're at $500,000, $800,000, at first they might be doing bookkeeping for you and outsource your CPA and maybe someone overseeing books for a higher level. Doesn't mean you don't need to look at the books. You got to look at it as well. They're doing emails, they're doing list scrubbing, they're doing the little busy things there. But we're very fast to hiring techs. Mm-hmm. And we always use the excuse, well, I've got to hire another tech because, I can't get this done without another tech. Mm-hmm. Well, what it comes out to be, really the bottom line issue that I see a lot of MSPs is they're not charging enough. So they're always trying to catch their tail, right? They're just spinning themselves in circles and not able to catch up ever, because they charge so low, especially at the beginning when you start a company. You're so cheap on price to get clients that you end up getting clients. You hire someone, and every time you bring a client, I got to hire another tech. Bring a client, hire another tech. You're always behind. And that's not a way to do business. And believe me, I did it that way. And that's why I like a mission to coach MSPs. Do not do it that way. Mm-hmm. And believe me, they do. And then until they have the aha moment, oh, I should have been listening to you, Will. Yes. And so it really starts about what you charge to keep you ahead of the game so you can hire admins or accounting person or a list cleaner or a account manager and then an outside salesperson. And then, you've got to have that revenue. You've got to have that income coming in. You can't just worry about paying your bills. You got to pay your bills, grow, and have a profit all at the same time. And if once people get that in their head, you cannot run your business like a piggy bank, nor can you run it like your personal checking account, which is about the same. But you can't do that. I separate business, my business, and I get a paycheck just like everybody else. Do I take owner draws? Yes, I do. But that is scheduled and set out. It's all about planning, and really it starts back to what you charge to be able to do all these other things you would love to do.
So why did you charge so little? And why does it seem like everybody do that?
Everybody.
It seems like nobody starts out going, I'm charged too much or enough from the beginning, right? It just doesn't happen.
Because you're hungry, you're scared, you're hungry, you're just trying to get a client, you're trying to get that first client, you're trying to get that first win. And a lot of people start a business, especially in the IT world, they start a business because either they got fired from a job or they are in a job they hate, so they try to start something on the side, right? Because IT seems like the easiest thing to do to start something on the side. And it's all about money. It's all about their personal money. The reason why they charge low is to get in the door to just cover their personal bills. That's really what I see a lot of times. And I think that's the reason why I did it. When the mortgage company shut down and I started doing consulting, I had some income coming in. But it was all about feeding the family, feeding life, feeding, and everything else that the bills I had. So you're scared. And I think that's where a lot of people start out. As soon as you realize, okay, I was scared, I've got enough to cover me and my, what people call my nut, total cost. I've got that. Now let me adjust my pricings where I should be. Now I might get clients slower, but I'm going to get better clients. And then eventually those clients that was help covering your costs initially, they're either going to raise up or they're going to, you're going to flip them out to better clients. I think people just need to jump on that faster and not let it draw out so long.
How do I know if I'm not charging enough?
If you are always trying to hire a tech every time you get a client, if you not paying your bills on time, if you're always struggling with money and that's always on your mind, if you do not have extra money in your business checking account at the end of the month, those are some good signs, right? I can go into the details of packaging pricing, but that's a really initial good signs there. Where it's always, I can't hire this because of money. You never want to be in a position where you can't hire someone because of money. I always want to be able to hire, like if I find the right person, I want to boom, hire, just like that. But the only way, you got to be profitable to be able to do that. And a lot of people go, well, you got to be 2, 3, 4 million to be profitable. No, you can be $1 million company and be profitable. It's all a mindset. I was on a coaching call earlier and the guy said, I got to win. I had a customer that I did a TBR with. I gave them our price increase with our new packaging. It's $2,000 more than what they were paying, and I thought for sure they were going to leave. They signed the agreement while he was in the room at $2,000 more per month. Okay. Right there, he said that was a mindset I've always had for years. And I think he's had his company for 16 years. And for 16 years, he's been scared to have that conversation. And guess what? They signed off of it like it was nothing. Now, does that happen all the time? No. But it's a mindset to us. You have to feel that you're worth more than you think you're worth or that you feel that you're worth. And it's not walking around with, $10,000, $20,000 Rolex on or nice suits and nice fancy cars. But it's about a mentality to know when I walk in a room, I'm worth more than what in my heart I am worth, right? You have to have that mentality. And it's a little bit at first, fake it till you make it. And not lie, but fake it till you make it to get out there. Right. And again, that's part of getting out of your comfort zone. You'll see that behind me speaking at different places, Harvard, West Point, NASDAQ, just different places. I was terrified when I first started speaking in public. Probably about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, I spoke in front of 1,500 salespeople at an organization on stage. And had them dying laughing, right? I'm not the funniest person in the world, but I had them. I know how to adjust things to get people's attention and get them to laugh, to loosen up on whatever they're listening to, right? And so those are things that I could not have done 7 years ago, right? And a lot of people look at like, well, I can do what Will does. There's no way. I said the same thing 7, 8 years ago. I was a tech. I was an engineer. I'm great behind the keyboard. But for me to get out and just talk, I was terrified. And that was, I think, one, again, back to the mentor and training is doing something, doing something that's out of your comfort zone as well.
I want to go back to the time management for a moment, because not only yay, but I feel like we're pretty bad at it in the industry. As CEOs, as owners, it's our baby. We got to, there is that part of, you got to work. Like, you're not going to build this in 9 to 5 when you're starting out. But I'd like you to share about how many hours a week do you spend on Vector Choice now that you're 18 million, 84 or so employees, whatever the number is.
So first, let's start on what I do within a week's time. Okay. Yeah. I not only run Vector Choice, right? I'm not only the CEO of that, but I'm also the CEO of another company that provides compliance and cybersecurity as a white label to MSPs. That's number 2. Number 3, I'm the vice president of client coaches for the past 4 years for Technology Marketing Toolkit and Robin. So I do all the coaching programs. I'm also on the CEO Council for Kaseya. I speak in tons of different places for IT by Design and Build It, the DattoCon Connect, boot camp for TMT that's coming up. All these speaking engagements. I run Will Nobles LLC, where I do a lot of TV appearances, book writing, coaching as well. I do a day with Will with MSPs. I do a week with Will at, like, we did one in Acapulco, Mexico, that I spend working with MSPs. My daughter plays travel softball. We have a horse that she shows and she rides. She does practice hitting lessons every week. My 2 boys play travel baseball. I'm assistant coach on the travel baseball team. I have done 2 Amazon documentaries on cybercrime on Amazon. I do a lot of blogging as well. That's just in a week's time. Mm-hmm. I'm a husband, father, coach in many aspects of, from business to sports coaching, and a CEO as well. Again, right team, right AE, in prioritizing what I want for the future. It's not for right now. I could step back. I could go to the beach tomorrow and do nothing. I know I actually couldn't do nothing. It would drive me crazy to do nothing. But I could go and do a whole week and not look at my emails, not look at anything, and relax. It would drive me crazy, but I could do it because I don't have to be there. So building something that you don't have to be there all the time. So the answer, go back, and I wanted to share everything I do to go back to answer your question. I probably only work for 40 to 50 hours a week. Truthfully, at Fridays at 4 o'clock, and 4 o'clock in the afternoons, I cut it off. I walk away from the computer. I spend time with kids all weekend. We do sports. We do things with the family. And I'll pick it back up, work about 8, 9 o'clock Sunday night. But all weekend, I do not work. Now, there are some CEOs who will tell you different. They will work 7 days a week all the time. I just don't believe it. Family's too important to me to do that. So that's my cutoff period. In the afternoons when I am in town, like I was sharing with you earlier, before the recording started, every afternoon, if it's baseball season, basketball season, I'm doing something in the yard with the kids. So yesterday I was playing basketball, with a 8 and 9 year old, and that's hard for an old guy. But,
I can relate.
Yeah. And so, but I'm out there doing that, and then I come back in, and then we prepare dinner, and then we hang out with the kids, and so I don't sleep much. I'm not gonna lie, because I don't get all what I get done. And then if I do have work to do, like last night I had some stuff I had to get done, so I went back and had some PowerPoints to do, and I did some work for about 2 hours last night. So from about 9:30 to maybe 11, I did some work, watched TV a little bit, and went to sleep at 1. And I got up at 6. So I don't sleep 8 hours, the prescribed doctor's time. But I don't think you can be successful sleeping 8 hours. That's just my opinion as well. But I still have time to watch Netflix. I still have time to read the news and know what's going on in the news and in sports and stuff like that. Am I die hard anything? No. Like, I've got friends that know sports up and down. They know every quarterback, every coach. I don't have time for that. One, if they're not making me money, I don't care.
Right.
I will watch sports. I love sports. But if they're not making me money, why am I going to spend my life watching them, right? So I'm going to spend my life making money and being with my family. So that's how I've prioritized that. So it's like anything you prioritize. It's like going to the gym. You prioritize going to the gym. My wife goes to the gym every single morning. She prioritizes. I pay for it every single month and I go. But I prioritize work and family over going to the gym. Now, should I? Probably so, right? Could I make time? Yeah, I get up at, I can get up at 5:30, go and spend 30 minutes in the gym. It's all about priorities, right? So it's anything, you prioritize your time. So time management, I think overthinking time management is too much for me. But prioritizing what's important. Like, I know every day there is 5 things that I need to get, and it's different every day, but I know I'll pick 5 things. It has to be done today, right? I'm not going to sleep until it gets done. Then next day, I might only can do 2 things because I've got meetings, right? And so you prioritize that. But again, when you can get out of the minutia of being the tech, taking the phone calls from clients, that's when it's a little bit easier. But until you get there, you might have to get up at 5:30 in the morning and work on marketing from 6 to 7, right? And then from 7 to 8, you can work on a little bit of sales stuff. You can send some, link some envelopes and stuff envelopes and stuff and mail it out. Post on social media. So I think people overthink time management, but at the same time, they take the total opposite and they waste too much time in a day. Mm-hmm. I'm very productive with every minute and every hour I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clearly. So I want to dig into this and kind of double click a little. And so just humor me for a second. On average, what would you say you spend with Vector Choice in a week?
So Vector Choice, all right, I do my executive call, which is 90 minutes every Tuesday. I do my accounting call Mondays. That's 30 minutes. I'm on my sales call sometimes in my account management. And then my COO or my C-level team calls me at least once a day to catch me up on what's going on. I would say maybe 5 or 6 hours in my MSP.
So that's the reason
outside of M&A. Now M&A, that's total different.
You got to spend a lot more time there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing I wanted, like, obviously I think 2 things can be true at once, right? And what I'm hearing so far is you can't start your MSP on 5 or 6 hours a week, right? No. Like you're doing currently. On the other hand, you have an $18 million MSP with 80 something employees that you are able to spend 5 or 6 hours a week on, and it still grow because you've put the right team and systems in place.
Yes.
And the reason I come at it that way, and I wanted to ask this is, I think so many people, it's the only business have ever started. And the problem, and I'm sure you see this in not only coaching, but M&A, is you get tied to it. I am that.
Yep.
So when did you say, I'm going to start the cybersecurity? I'm going to write these books. I'm going to be in the documentary. I'm going to be the VP at Robin Robbins. I'm going to do, when did you start to say that, Vector Choice is not the only thing I'm going to do?
I would say time frame, around 2018 is really when I, so 10 years in my business, right? In 2008 to 2018, around 2018, but that was at the same time I was breaking out and felt more comfortable about speaking in public and doing things. And I started doing I really started doing TV appearances. I started doing speaking engagements. In 2019, I got paid my first ever paying gig to speak. And I'm like, people paid me to speak. I got $10,000 to speak for an hour. I'm like, people paid me to speak. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Then COVID hit. COVID did slow things down. I stopped doing TV. I did a few TV segments virtually in 2000, excuse me. But really the biggest change was when COVID, I took 4 months vacation. And during COVID, now me and my friend drove for 2 weeks. We drove around the whole United States, so maybe 17 days. We drove around the whole United States in July of 2020. I did a ton of other things. I went to Mexico. COVID didn't slow me down. Let's say that. And so I took 4 months. It was a little bit, and this is being me very real, a little bit of the COVID depressed, like where is the world going and all the crap that you can get in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Fighting, do I get a shot? Do I not get a shot? And just all the political crap. And I was really like, what do I want to do? So 12 years at that time, 12 years with the company, I was really struggling. What do I wanted to do? I paid myself the most I ever paid myself in 2020 at the time. I took 4 months vacation. And so I went to Robin as a mentor, Robin Robbins, and I went to her in about November. It's like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. She was like, well, why don't you sell the company? I was like, well, if I sell it, what the hell am I going to do?
Right. That's exactly right.
And I said, I don't want to sell it. Yeah.
I want to interrupt you for a second. Was that a fear that contributed to not selling? Because I don't know what I'm going to do.
At the time, a little bit. I think I wasn't ready to sell to, I think it was the fear of the unknown. What's next? Because I was like, God, I don't want to start all over again. Right. Because you build that baby. It's like, I don't want to start all over again. Now I'm like, give me another project and I'll start over. And because I know I can do it better. Mm-hmm. And so, Robin said, hey, why don't you, if you're tired, why don't you come coach for me for 10 hours a week and, start doing some stuff in coaching and why don't you hire a COO? And so I hired my COO of February of 2021, started coaching for TMT in January of 2021. And then the coaching just took off. And just went from there. And then I sort of, I guess I would say, blew up in the MSP world of people knowing me and stuff like that. From just saying I'm sort of stuck in life. I don't know what I want to do. And that was really the biggest thing and that gave me more comfort level. Like, hey, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this. I mean, I'm the president of my HOA in my neighborhood, which don't tell anybody that. And this is not a recorded call, but I am, and I'm like, how did I get talked into that? So I do, and I know I listed a lot of things earlier, but I do a lot more than just outside of that as well. And so I don't know. I just like being busy, but I've accepted that me being busy and doing different things, it de-risks me as well. As a person in life, a person married with kids, it de-risks my risk. If Vector Choice fails, which really suck, I'm not only dependent on that, right? I've got other forms of income, and I think that's the biggest thing is, and how rich people get richer. You look at Damon John and Barbara Corcoran and Kevin O'Leary and these guys. They don't just have their one business. They started out with their just one business, but they have their hands in all kinds of things. They have different revenues of income coming in, and that's how the rich people get rich. And I'm like, I want that. And so I'm going to make it where I have different levels of income coming in that not one thing can take me down. And I'm the only person that could take me down at this point, not just one aspect. It would hurt. I mean, any of them would hurt, but I would live through it.
What would you say to yourself or to somebody listening that's struggling? Because I think what you said is probably the norm, to be 10 or 12 years in and go, what am I doing? Who am I? Maybe even like I'm burned out. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. Right. So, what advice do you have?
Well, I'll say something funny. As the selfish part of me, and just couldn't call me and sell to me. No, I'm just kidding. That's the funny, selfish side of there, and everything. The truth.
Make sure they give you a good deal. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. The truthful part is, you've got to get the head trash out. You've got to get out, and again, I'll go back and say this, you got to get out of your own damn way. Because it's the head trash, it's the naysayers. Don't listen to people that are not successful telling you something. That I had so many people tell me, in 2010, I lost 60% of my revenue, which was only 3 clients. One client went bankrupt. The other one did M&A and merged with another company, so I lost a deal. And the other one I lost through nutrition. It was only 3 clients, but it was 60% of my revenue. Wow. In 2010, I could tell you, I can list a people, I see their faces now, how many people told me, even to my mother, told me, go get a job. You'll be less stressed. Go be an IT director somewhere. You won't have the stress and headache. You will have an income coming in.
Wait, hold on. They told your mother?
No, my mother told me that.
Your mother told you that. Okay.
My mother told me to go get a job.
Trying to help you that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody's trying to help. But if you go back, if I go back today, look at the people that were trying to give me advice. They don't make nothing compared to what I make today, right? So I was listening to people that were not successful at the time. Now, people that were giving me advice were not successful. In their own world, they might feel that way, but they're truly not. And so I was listening to them, and I had to go and overcome that, right? And it was my willpower, my want of being successful got there. So I would never listen to never listen to someone that makes less money than you. Mm-hmm. Don't listen to someone that is not as successful as you are at whatever level, right? I listened to, I was at an event, and I happened to had lunch, and it was lunch, and it was me. I was the poorest person in the room. Let's put it that way. Damon John, Robert Hershevek, Robin Robbins, and Fred Vicola from the CEO of Caseo. I'm by far the poorest person in the room. Mm-hmm. They're asking me questions, right? But I never had that opportunity to sit at that table with that knowledge and me to ask questions of them as well. If it wasn't for me leveling up myself to look at people and ask the questions of people higher than me, right? How to do things. Now, don't go think that if you're $1 million company, I'm going to go sit down with Robert Hershevek. It's not going to happen, right? But if you could sit down with a $10 million, or a $5 million company, a $20 million company, those are the things that little knowledge, a little along the way, you get to talk to people like Robert Hershevek and Damon John and stuff. I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to Rob Stevenson, which is the CEO of Thrive Networks, $400 million MSP. Do you think I'm asking him questions? Is he mentoring me? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But was I able to give things back to him as well? Yes, he was willing. He's able to listen because I can level up to that. So it's about leveling up to the people and getting advice for people that can truly help you and not trying to knock you down.
Mm-hmm. How do you define success?
In my crazy mind, what success is.
Yeah.
If you ask my mother thinks I'm all about money. And granted, there's a good factors about money. I'm not going to argue. The world does not turn. Money doesn't grow on trees, and the world doesn't turn with money. Or money can't make you happy. Yeah, it can. I will disagree with that statement. Money can't make you happy, but don't abuse what you have. And so success to me is I don't have to live in a humongous multi-million-dollar house. I don't have to drive. I drive a truck. It's a nice truck, yes, but I drive a truck. And so success to me is being comfortable, be able to support and my family, give back to the community, have great employees that I can give to and give back to, where it's not just their paycheck, that they have other benefits of working for me. Success is me being comfortable and people around me being happy.
I want to pivot for a second and ask you a few other questions. What's the biggest lesson you've learned over all your years?
That I don't know everything. Like my mom used to tell me, my mom and dad used to tell me when I was a kid. And I still tell my kids today, you think you know it all, but you don't. Realize I don't know everything and be open-minded to learn things and take advice from people that want me to be successful.
What's one thing you go back and do differently?
When I first started a company, I thought, and again, this is probably in my mind only, I thought, well, I've got to have a nice car and, to take people because I'm going to have driving people around. So I went and bought a Mercedes. Never drove a Mercedes before, never will drive one again. I just don't need a car like that. So I went and bought a Mercedes, and because I thought I was going to have to drive people around, they're going to be in the car with me, and I need to wine and dine people. Maybe
in a realtor.
Yes, I was confused. Yes, thanks. I was highly confused. And I could probably put on one hand how many times a client has actually been in a vehicle with me. But it's the things that you think people or look for, and the things that people really look for. So to me, I think not trying to impress people, just be yourself. That would probably be the biggest. That's one of the biggest things I learned when I started the company.
Given all the things going on in the world, where you are in life, and all your endeavors with your family and your businesses, what are you looking forward to?
Getting a big check one day. No, I'm looking forward to, we were just in Acapulco, Mexico, and it was good, relaxing. My wife was with me. I had 9 CEOs doing a week with Will, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't just sit there and just hang out at the pool and drink, whatever, every day, all day. I would be bored to death. So what the future holds for me, yes, I will sell my MSP one day. I love the coaching. I love the teaching aspect. I think no matter how much money I'll make from the company, I have to do something. I'll have to be working. So I'll probably still do the coaching. I'll probably still do the mentoring of MSPs. Giving back. I want my kids to really see how people live in life. Have them well traveled. To understand that people don't live like we do in America. I think a lot of people want to bash America that live here. And I honestly think, hands down, we live in the best country in the world. I know there's some good countries out there. Don't get me wrong. I agree. There's some good aspects of other countries. I've been all over the place. But I've also, like I said, just in Mexico. The way they live there is totally different than even the poorest live here in the United States. I think, will I ever go into politics? I don't know. But I would love to get back to the future of the country and try my little part of the world to get people back in the right aspect of believing in America, believing in that we are the greatest nation there is, and loving this country again. So I would love to have some kind of influence, and if that little bit I would love to do that.
Let me flip that question on you. What's your biggest challenge currently?
Can't find enough companies to buy fast enough. Really, that is a challenge I'm having, that. But truthfully, drilling down, outside sales, new logos in 2024 was very, very tough. And that's not just for me, but I coach, like I said, a lot of people, markets up and down. There are some people who were very successful getting new logos, but when they look at the big masses of MSPs out there, from the Thrive Networks to the Integris to even the big guys, just small companies, getting net new logos in 2024 was very, very tough. So that is a challenge that my MSP is coming out of in 2025, and how to address that and how to shift that and everything. And so far, the shift is going better. And again, like I've told everybody, anytime you're in a political year, things are slowing down. People are not spending money as fast. They're holding on to things. I think regardless of who won the election, I think people are going to have to start spending money again. And that's what we're seeing is that happening. And so, that and buying companies, I think a lot of people don't understand the value of what they're worth or what they're not worth. And it's hard for me to come in and sit down with you and sort of tell you your baby's ugly, when it is, and I try to coach at the same time, saying, hey, here's the things you need to work on to get that value up. People have to be open to that. So that's a challenge, and new logo is a challenge. I think, I would say finding time. I still got plenty of time. Give me some more work to do. I'll figure it out.
That's awesome.
That's never a challenge.
That's awesome. What's the one or two books, number one book or one or two books that you would recommend?
I think different. Yeah,
we'll talk about yours too, but other than yours,
I would say one. It depends on where you're at. I think if you're struggling financially, Profit First is a very good book. If you're trying to build a good structure in your business, the book Traction by Gino Wickman is a very good book. Jack Daly's book, the Sales Playbook. If you're struggling with sales, I think Jack Daly's book is great. There's several. I've read so many. That's when I do read. Like I never read, but when I do read, I say I never read. Only time I read is either motivational books, inspiring business growth books, and stuff like that. Pick a book up a month and read one of those books. If you don't like reading, do Audible or whatever, and listen to books. Knowledge is power, hands down. And if more knowledgeable you are about other businesses, other ways of doing things, the better you're going to be as a leader.
Well said. Well said. So for folks that are listening, give your plug, tell them how they could connect, what they should do. You have so many different ways, from buying your book to coaching to whatever you want to say there. I'd love to hear, how can folks get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest way, I'll make it very easy for you guys. You can email me at will@willnobles.com. That's the easiest email address to remember. It's NOB as in boy, LES.com. You can email me there, and I'll even go as far as giving my cell phone number out, 770-313-3319. Feel free to call me, text me. Texting is a lot easier. Just make sure you tell me who you are, and I'll definitely respond back. But those two ways, the good way about emailing me, my admin will get it. My admin doesn't get text. So either one of those ways is completely fine. I'm willing to help anybody that needs help, or just wants to talk about ideas and stuff. I'm there for them as well.
Wonderful. Make sure to take Will up on that gift of not only email or text. I can totally relate if somebody has an EA. Try the email first, please. And they'll get it hooked, because it could take a little longer, if you're like me, to get back on the text. But thank you so much for the gift of your time and all of your wisdom. And thank you for being on MSP Mindset.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.